All right. So like I said, we're going to be working on the jeweled ring project or bracelet, whatever you like. Basically, what you're creating is some sort of, I should have kept that part. We're going to make a wearable thing. So you're going to want to use your calipers. If you didn't bring them, we've got them, to roughly size ring and size. We're not going with official ring sizes. It's just close enough to where it'll actually fit you if you wanted to wear it. But it has to make use of either or any combination of the pipe, sweep, or loft tools. You're going to be creating a basic gem, and you're going to be creating some sort of basic setting for that gem. This is not a jewelry class. You can be as true to a jewelry setting or basic as you please to make it work. I'm going to show you how to make some basic things, and you can always take that and run. So let's switch over to Fusion, show you what I'm really talking about here. So first off is creating a gem. Now, this is not really to scale or any kind of scale. This is actually huge, and this is actually the model I used to print that thing. So it's like, like an apple. But what this uses is, let me jump back through the settings, is it uses the polygon sketch tool. Now, what that is within the sketch environment, and I'll start a new one just so you can see. You've got your basic tools that we've been using the whole time. One of the ones is polygon, and you have a couple of options here. First is circumscribed, and inscribed. What that just means is it's creating the polygon on the outside of a circle or on the inside of a circle. That's all. The edge polygon is a way that you can create a polygon by defining a specific edge distance, and then it'll create the multitudes as you would like. Now, I'm not going to go through this entirely because I want to finish going through this part, and we'll talk about it in a moment. So I've created a 10-sided. Yes, 10-sided. Cool. Polygon. From that, I used a basic extrude. Oops, need to unhide the bodies. So I just extruded just a little bit. So like 1 millimeter or something like that. From that, I did a tapered extrude. And what I mean by that is go to edit feature, extrude, and I used a taper angle. And in this case, I used 45. You could use 42. Again, apparently the common cutting angle for jewelry is 42 degrees. More power to you. I joined this. Next one, I extruded downward at a 42-degree angle for that one, just because I was trying to be all fancy and keep with it. But the further the distance, the more extreme that taper comes out. It's all the exact same angle, it just shows more. Now, one thing to point out here is I did not bring this to a point, because in order to use the tool that we need, you can't just have a singular point. And what that tool is the plane through 3 points. So we've used the construction plane, the basic construction plane, and we've played around a little bit with some of the other ones. But the one we're going to use tonight is a plane through 3 points. And what I did with this is you select 3 points. And in this case, it's 3 sections or 3 vertices of those facets. And then we use the tool split body. And what I did with that is it takes that chunk, and now I have a separate little piece, little body. I can hide that, and now you can see how I created the first facet there. We're going to go through this. Using a pattern tool, I recreated that across the surface, and now you have a multitude of those. Do the same thing for the bottom. Create the plane through 3 points. Goes across it. Now it's not showing it all the way, but 2 points at the bottom, 1 toward the center there. Again, split body. Make sure it shows it more clearly. Where is it? There we are. Creates that little facet. Hide that body. Now it's harder to see because it's much longer. Now again, use the circular pattern across the whole surface. There we are. Now I've got multiple facets. And if you want to do this last step, it's up to you to bring that finally bring that to a point. I took that profile and extruded that actually to a point. And that allows me to create a faceted jewel. Now, this is very basic. Again, you can make these in whatever dimensions you like, but there you go. So cool, made a jewel. Hey, it even rhymes. Didn't intend that. You shouldn't laugh at that. That was terrible. But I do want to show you some different ways that you can create a basic ring shape with some of the tools we've used. Now, I said you can't use just a single pipe tool. You have to make a little bit more to that. So what I did here is I did exactly that. I made a pipe tool off of a profile, but instead of just one profile, I actually made iterations rotated off of that center axis, and then just joined the multiples together to create this kind of woven ring look. Now, I made this excessively large setting and jewel for this piece, so you make it as gaudy or as humble as you would like. So remember, you will be applying appearances, so made it fancy red glass or kind of sort of ruby, or yeah, more stage ruby. Sure, why not? Other options would be I used a sweep profile. So remember, a sweep is the same. You still will have a profile, which in this case would be a circle or half circle, depending on what you're working with. In this case, it's a circle. And then you create one profile. In this case, I made this oval and then added notches. So basically, I made a tire ring. I don't know why. It just worked out that way. You could take it one step further and create a loft, which remember uses two profiles. So this one more rectangular at the top, ovoid at the bottom, and you still select that path and it creates a round loft. Now in this case, I actually used extrude or excuse me, not extrude. I used emboss to create recesses and such on the surface, but we're going to get to that. The other thing is I made a couple of different options for the ring setting. In this case, this one, I just made a basic profile based off of the jewel. And what I did is I just made a projection off of, or I made a new sketch, took a projection off of the jewel, and then drew a basic shape, a rectangular shape around that. Use the jewel as an object, as a cutting object, so that it would make sure to actually fit inside that jewel setting, and then use the circular pattern to create multiples of that. So it can be very basic. It could be a little more fancy if you like. This one with the multiple jewels. This one was created by just a sketch that tapered outward, and then I made cuts into this shape to just create recesses, and then I ultimately used the jewel itself as a cutting body to cut away the inside of this setting form. So you can do whatever you like. So all right, well, let's actually go through how to make some of this stuff. First, start a new project, and as standard, let's make sure to save this. Example, ring black through. Through. Why not? Okay, so traditionally, or at least so far, what we've often done is made multiple components. You can do that first. You can do it after. I'm at least going to make one component for the jewel and then build off of that. So first thing, make a new component. Jewel. All right, I'm going to start there. First things first, create a new sketch. Write down. Now, remember, if you make this too large, you could always scale it down or up, doesn't matter. So if it makes more sense to make this a little bit larger at first and then scale it to fit, cool. So what we're going to start with is that polygon. So go down, create polygon. I'm going to use circumscribed because it just works better for me. Makes sense. Now, first thing, do not hit enter when you're doing this, because you cannot go back and edit the polygon. You have to select the dimensions and then use tab to select the amount of sides. You can preset the sides and then select dimensions, doesn't matter, but use the tab. Don't hit enter until you've entered both values. So in this case, I'm going to go with 10 again, add that, there we are. Now for size, let's keep it a bit smaller. Actually 10 millimeters would still be an enormous jewel. So let's make it slightly gaudy. 10 works for me. Now I hit enter and you see the inscribed ring goes away. Or sorry, in this case, the ring or the circle would be inscribed. It goes away. So outright, that's gone. That's what happens when you hit enter with the polygon tool. So don't forget that. For right now, that's all I need. Finish sketch. All right. Zoom out to home. First, extrude, select the profile. And in this case, I'm just going to go up like 2 millimeters. Ooh, that's huge. Let's just do 1. There we go. Yay. 1. Now I've got something to work with. Okay. So like before, I just showed, I'm going to extrude upwards and then I'm going to extrude downwards. So you can go back, select extrude, or just press E on your keyboard, select that top profile. I'm going to go up, we'll go up like 5. Now, that's exactly the same because it's a straight up extrusion. I want to add that taper. Remember, a negative taper will go inward, positive number will go outward. So make sure it's negative. And we'll keep to 42. There we go. Boop. Makes it kind of fancy. Cool. I left it as join. Great. Orbit under, do the same at the bottom. We'll go down this time instead of 5, let's say 10. And again, select down to taper, negative 42. All right, now you see where we're going with this. Make sure it's operation is join. We're all set. Okay, that's the basics. Now, what I want to do is create my additional facets. This already works pretty well. This would be great for like a ring pop. Let's make it a little bit better. And frankly, if you make a ring pop out of this, that would be even better because that is still a ring, so that works. All right, go to construction. We're going to plane through 3 points. So what you want to do to create this is I'm going to be selecting, well, 3 points. It's not on the single edge. I'm going to select 1 point, skip the shared point, go over to the next, and then select the center. Or you can select one corner down to 1 point, then select the other. Doesn't matter the order, just so long as there's 3 points. Mainly, I am skipping that shared center point. That's the detail I'm getting to. Select OK. All right. This is just a construction plane. It is imaginary. It's simply just floating there. It doesn't have any bearing. Until you use the next tool, which is split body. If you go down to modify, you have a couple options. Split face, which it's still the same object, but it now will add a series of edges. I don't want to add edges. I want to actually chop it off. So I'm going to go to split body. Select that. The body to split is the whole jewel. My splitting tool is that plane. Now you have a toggle box. It just disappeared because it doesn't matter right now, but you can leave it checked or unchecked. It doesn't matter in this case. You can see the red line, or it goes to red because it's going to be used as a cutting tool. There we go. Select OK. Now when I expand the browser bar for bodies, now I have 2. I have my little chunk and my original. I'm going to hide the little one, body 1. You can see it creates that facet. Great. I can hide my construction plane or just hide the single plane for now. And let's go ahead and label that body jewel. Jewel. There we go. Great. Okay. Now, and you could either go ahead and make the facet for the bottom or do a circle pattern. Doesn't matter because we're both going to end up in the same spot. But for now, let's go to create, go to pattern, circle pattern. Now, in the past, we've used like bodies, or if we've used features to duplicate, like, an extruded hole with fillets and all that such. In this case, we actually need to make sure we're selecting faces, because I want to duplicate just that triangular face where everything, and the whole thing is just that. It's now triangular. Everything else is a polygon, at least 4 sides. This is a triangle. I'm going to select that. Same thing, axis. So it's very important that you build this all right off of your origin point. Select the Z-axis. There we go. Now, the trick to this is you want to make sure that these actually align. So this is where it's kind of helpful to make sure you're using even numbers, not odd numbers. It's easier to divide. So I made this with 10 sides. Let's go to 5. Makes it a lot easier. All right. Select OK. Now I don't have any more bodies to hide, but it creates those facets. We're all set. We're good. All right, cool. There, that's exactly what I wanted. Now we go to the bottom, or again, you could have done this first. Construction plane through 3 points. Do the same thing. And this one, I'm going to go straight across. I'm going to select 1 point, all the way to the bottom, up. That messed it up. I went the wrong way. Wrong points. You need to have your single point toward the center, not toward the top or bottom. So it's deselect that. My single point is going to be toward the center. Now my 2 points are going to be on opposites of the other side. There we go. See, it's just that little sliver. That's what we want. Okay, repeat the process. Split body to split is the jewel. Splitting tool is the plane. Whoop, there we go. Chops it apart. Great. Now let's see which one is which. All right. Now my jewel 1 is just that little sliver. Let's hide that sliver. Hide the construction plane. I'm left with just that little facet. Great. Circle pattern. Select faces. That face. Axis. Now, if you can't get to the axis, just temporarily hide the body. Select the Z axis. And you can see it already creates multiples. And because it saves my last selections, it's on 5. Great. That's exactly what I want. 5. Now, you could, of course, push this further. Let's try 10. Just see what it does. Now we have multiple cuts, but we might have some intersections. So it's up to you. You can certainly try that out. If I hit OK, let's see what that does. It might cause some errors. I'm not sure. Nope. Makes it even fancier. Extra facets, extra fancy. Super good. Now, the last step is if you want to, you can choose to do this. If you want to leave this jewel as a flat bottom there, that's fine. If you want to complete the jewel as a point, go to extrude, select that bottom point. Again, I'm going to continue first with -42. And since I'm not sure where that's going to go to, I can zoom in and just pull that down. 1 millimeter went to a point. All right, we're good. 1 millimeter works. Leave it as operation join. Boop, there we go. All right. That is a faceted jewel. I know I buzzed through that, but it's really quite straightforward. Again, you can make more facets. We can add more to the top, to the bottom. Well, the bottom, not really. We already did that, but there you go. F6, make this a little bit easier. First off, well, let me change views. I'm going to go to auto color. So shift in. Oh, it's already blue. Let's save over here. Jewel made. All right. Now, in all reality, it probably would have been best to create the ring first, but doesn't really matter. And the only reason I say that is if you want the jewel to scale to the ring, you make the ring first and then scale the jewel. Or again, I just kept saying scale, just scale it. So let's do that. For this case, I'm going to hide the ring, activate the whole project so that I can just ignore that for now. So realistically, and I should have grabbed this earlier. Use a set of calipers. Now, I don't have ring guides. We're not really worried about ring guides. You can use a set of calipers, but just keep in mind, if you are sizing either a ring or a bracelet, do not squish down. It will either not fit over your knuckle, or it will, and then it won't come back off. So be gentle when measuring whichever ring or whichever finger you are using a dimension for. If you are creating a bracelet, definitely don't make it only the size of your wrist because it ain't fitting past your hand at all. So if you're making a bracelet, give it a little bit of extra give. But ultimately with that, I just need a dimension. I just need a round dimension. Remember, the calipers are excellent for, and that's what they're for, is finding the diameter across a round object. Best thing to do if you're creating a ring or like I said, bracelet, you can be a lot more forgiving with. A ring, size down, be gentle, somewhere in the middle of the last knuckle or just past your knuckle, but don't only take one dimension, take more of an average. Rotate your finger just to make sure it goes a little bit larger, that sort of thing. Because originally, if I on side to side from my pointer finger, it's 19.9 millimeters. If I rotate, that went to 21.8. Maybe take an average of those. So that would be more of like 20.5. That sounds about right. Okay. Start with a new component. There we go. I want to start that new component. Should have named it first. Ring. All right. So I'm going to start with a sketch. I'm going to go from the front and select the XZ plane. And I'm going to start with a simple, circle. Now, I said an average size would be 20.5 for my pointer finger. Cool. Now, quick thing. If I use this as my path, unless I make if I'm using a loft or a sweep, unless I make my profiles on the edge of this, it ain't going to work. I'm going to finish sketch here and say, just for a quick basic, let's use a pipe tool. Right there. New body, all of that. I don't know why the selection size is that. Let's just say selection size of 2. Okay. New body, 2 millimeter diameter. Cool. Problem is, as I unhide that sketch is smack in the middle of that pipe. So this was where it gets a little bit tricky. Might have to do a little bit of math. Plan ahead a little bit, or again, you can always scale it up. But if I want to compensate for the size, just keep in mind how big you're going to be making this. So like if I wanted to make this a 2 millimeter diameter pipe, I would need to scale up that original profile by probably like 1 millimeter total. So all that means is then just go back into the sketch, edit sketch. Instead of 20.5, let's say it is 21.5. Oh, again, all right, great. Go to inspect, and let's just try to select. It's not going to let me, is it? Come on, filter selections, no components. It's not letting me select inside of there. And you can select inside of that ring, but ultimately you already know how big it is. Best thing to do is I would create a baseline, meaning that go to edit sketch, leave 1 as your original 20.5. All right. Set that as a construction line and then build out from there. So if you're making a ring, leave that construction line profile as that's like your default measurement, then build outward from there. Still the same profile, but we're good. All right. Edit sketch, go back in. I want to make that other one. Let's just make it a little bit larger so I have more room to play with. 22 millimeters. All right, great. Finish sketch. All right. So inside of this, inside of this component, I'm going to make some stuff to play with. So let me delete that feature first because I want to show you how to play around with this tool. So inside of my component here, I'm going to make a couple of options. You do not have to do this. This is simply a way for me to show you a couple options. Oh, it's already 8 o'clock. All right. So making a pipe tool, if you want to make some alterations to this, I'll do pipe ring. Okay. So that's just a nested component. That's all. All right. Inside of that, let's make a pipe. Select that center one. 2 millimeters. Great. Now, thing is, like I said, you cannot leave this as a simple direct pipe tool. What you can do, though, is you can make multiples. So let's take that direct pipe tool and let's move this, press M, and I'm going to rotate it across the x-axis. Oops, I said X, darn it. Let's say 5 degrees. Okay, do another one. Nope, not that. Come on. Pipe tool, same one, same sketch, pipe tool, there we are. Do not cut, I want a new body. Great, select there, good. So now I've made another one. Move that, select that new body. Let's move it the other way, -5 degrees. Okay, and you see where I'm going with this. Keep playing with that. Realistically, what I should do instead of keep making new pipes, select that, move, and nope, I don't want faces. Why faces? I want the whole body. There we are. Select that body. When you select the move tool, at the bottom of the toolbox, you have a selection option for create copy. Do that instead. So now that I moved it in one direction 5 degrees, let's go the other one. Let's rotate it 5 degrees that way. I don't really like that. Or do I? We'll do 10 degrees. Great. Made a copy. Do it again. Off the original one. Make copy. Rotate the other way. 10 degrees. There you go. So kind of turning into this horrible mass, but what we could, of course, do is just go back. Instead of a 2 millimeter, let's make that 1. Do the same since I made the original copy there. Let's make that one selection, that section size 1 millimeter. There we go. So you can see you can start creating these interlocking rings, or they're not interlocking, they're legitimately overlapping. And simply when you get to the consistency or distance you like, make more, or just join them together. So go back to move. This is why you should have just made, I should have just selected 1, because I want to take that back to 0. And then let's move that out. 2 millimeters, negative 2 millimeters. Great. Do it again. Only we'll choose that one, and this time we'll move it. Oops, I meant to create copy. Cancel. Select that one. Create copy. It gets really irritating. Move it out so that it overlaps to some degree. Okay. All right. We got kind of a weird massive ring things, but all I'm going to do is join them together. So select one and then just select the rest. Operation join. Whoop. So that's a way you could use the rings, or you could use the pipe tool to just create a nested ring. Obviously, this is not a good looking one. I would definitely go with the one that I did before. And that was, I moved them off a little bit more carefully, but play around with it like as you like. The other options, of course, are go back to ring. I'll create the other ones. We'll do sweep. And then one more. I shouldn't have activated that. One more will be loft. The only differences here, of course, would be if I activate the sweep, is remember that you will then be creating a sketch profile. Oops, I didn't mean to do it there. Nope, wrong one. Stop it. Stop it. Get out of here. Go. Shoo. Delete. Oh, I could have just redefined it. I always forget that. You want to work on the perpendicular plane, so that's straight on. And in this case, let's do an oval right there where it shares. So this case, we'll do a sure 4 millimeter by 2. Great. Okay. And of course, you can alter this if you like. You can do little notches or something to that effect. We'll make a little notch thingy and make it a terribly inconvenient ring. Oh, 0.5 is much, much too large. 0.1. There we are. Okay. Select OK. I could do another one. Nope, but not since I finished the thing. So there we go. That just makes sure to the sweep has to have the profile along the path plane. So go to create, go to sweep, select your profile, the little notch profile, select my path. There we go. And remember, you can always make this a shorter. Remember, the distance selection is a distance of 0 to 1. So if I said that as 0.5, it's only going to be half of the ring. But in this case, we want the whole thing. So let's make that 1. So that can be a very, very simple ring. You can, of course, play with the profile. This is a very narrow one. Play around with it that way. Jumping to loft, exact same thing. And just so you know, because I created the profile sketch just on the general component outside of any of these selections, remember it can be shared between them. It's only the actual profile or the profiles that are being specific to any component here. So I can create another sketch again on perpendicular plane here. We'll do one at the top, and that one will do a center point rectangle that is a little bit larger. Let's say, sure, 10 millimeters, which just seems huge, by 3. Okay. And I do want to round the edges because that would be a terribly uncomfortable one. Say 1 millimeter fillet. Don't hit enter. Keep selecting around, and it will share all of those. Okay. Now we're good. And resize, go to the bottom. And down here, we will make a circle. Or no, let's make a ellipse. There we are. So somewhere out there. Sure, that's a Disney song. Stuff pops into my head, and I really wish it didn't. But 0.6, sure, why not? All right, there we are. Resizing, I have my two profiles. Wow, that is tiny. That's okay. Finish sketch. To create a lofted ring, you're going to need to make two versions. You're going to make two and just two, or make one and then mirror it. So I have my two profiles and my path. I'm going to create. I forgot where loft is. There we are. Select the one. Select the second path, or sorry, profile. I accidentally selected a point. Make sure you have the whole profile. Now it's going to try to create, or it's going to give you an error. It's going to try to create something right between. It can't. Make sure you switch your guide rail selection to center line and then select that path. There you go. Now it's going to sweep that loft profile across and you're good. Now I just go to mirror, select the body. My mirroring plane is the actual origin plane, and it creates a copy. If you would like, the operation is either join or new body. Might as well join. There you go. Very simple ways of making a variety of different rings. You can apply the same thing to a bracelet, however you prefer. Now, to create, or we can, of course, unhide the jewel, which is gigantic now. Activate the whole whole project. Go ahead and save. Rings made. Rings made. Obviously, at this point, you can simply select the body of the jewel, move it. I don't know why it's over there, but you can plop it into place. And yeah, I would probably scale that way down. Again, I don't know. Go for a ring pop. I don't care. That totally works for me. Right? Tom and Jerry style, whatever you like. Yeah, exactly. That is totally the one where they open the case and it's just blinding. If I could spell, that would be awesome. All right, so it moved into place, and we can of course scale that. Pause. Okay, so the last part is to create some sort of a setting. Again, this is not a jewelry class. If you would like to refer to examples of actual jewelry settings, you totally should. Why not have a decent example? But you can go about making these there's no real one single way to do something like this. As I showed in the examples before, this one had this kind of ornate setting that I created. Scoop back to that, and that was simply some sort of a cone or an extrusion that I flared outward, so it would be a positive taper going outward, and then made some cuts and used the actual jewel as the actual jewel body to cut the recess. The other option I have on here on the examples, no, it's not active, is this simple just little tines that again use the jewel itself as a cutting body. And then I just added fillets, or sorry, actually I added chamfers to this one. I remember the chamfer is a direct angle, fillet is a curve. So whatever you like. So in this case, I'll show you the kind of a fancier example. What I did with that is you are, first of all, selecting which component you're working on. And I am only having this option because I made multiple versions. So I'm going to select the loft, activate that. You can use the actual jewel as a starting point, or you could just kind of start somewhere. So in this case, I do want to actually create a construction plane for myself because I want to be able to work right about there. So I'm going to select the origin plane and let's drag a point up to starting. Of course, it's right between 13 and 12, so that means 12.5. That works. Nice. All right, it's right about there. That works. So let's create a sketch right on there. Goes straight to the center. I'm going to use a circle point, and we'll go, I don't know, sure, 6. That seems reasonable-ish. It's larger than the base, at least. Cool, that works. All right, finish sketch. I'm just going to use that. Now I'm going to extrude that circle I want to extrude it at least beyond the break point there. Something to that effect. Sure. But I want to add a taper to this. So remember that the setting was 42 degrees. So let's try that. 42, positive number, flares outward. Cool. That went out. That works. Yeah, that's larger significantly. But that works. Okay. So now I can just play with some of my tools and just chop some stuff out. I'm going to use a chamfer tool on that edge, drag it in until it's something resembling what I like. And what that is I don't know. I'm just kind of playing with this at this point. Sure, that works. All right. Now, like I said, you can absolutely use the jewel as a cutting tool, but first I just want to cut some holes in this. And what I mean by that is I'm going to start another sketch. Straight on, onto here. And what I did for that first one was, I think I used a ellipse tool. Yeah, sure, something like that. 8, sure. And stretch it out to there. Sure, 18, great. Right. And again, I am not, like I said, I am not basing this off of anything. I am just playing. At this point, that works. Take that profile, extrude, goes out, chops through the outside. Now, problem is my jewel is still active. Let's make sure to hide that jewel. So now it won't chop the jewel to pieces. Remember, fusion will act on anything that is visible. So I don't want that to happen. Let's just chop that out. All right, great. Cut that out. Doesn't really matter. Great. Made that recess. Super. Now, realistically, I probably actually, you know what would work better? Let's step back, but I don't want to control Z. Let's step back a little bit. Let's use a shell tool to at least hollow this out a little bit. 3 millimeters. Apparently a little bit more. 2, 1. Let's test it with the jewel. Still a little bit of an overlap. Good. The only reason I'm doing that is just to give me a little bit more control over the extrusion and such. So now when I hit OK, skip this forward. Now I don't have such a wonky recess. Now I've got that. That works. Okay, let's add some more. Let's keep with the chamfers. Why not? Let's keep it all angular and whatnot. Go across that surface there. And yeah, so let's say a small chamfer, 0.5. Ooh, a little bit too large. 0.2. Yeah, that works nicely enough. Sure. Okay, that works. Now I'm going to use a pattern tool, circle pattern, to duplicate that. Oops, went not too far enough. I'm using faces, or better yet, let's use features, because I want to get that whole feature. And if it selects too much, it's not actually selecting what I want. It's actually the exact opposite. Fine, then I do need to go back to faces, select the inside face as well as those chamfer parts. And unfortunately, that gets obnoxious when the face option doesn't select everything that you need. So just be thorough. Make sure you get all the faces I need. There we are. All right. Axis. Using again the Z axis. Oh my God, way too many. I'm sure that would look pretty neat, but let's dial that like way back. 5. Make sure that nothing is overlapping. Okay, sure. Select OK. I probably should have saved before I hit OK. There we go. All right, that works well enough. And before I take any further, make sure to save. All right, ring setting. And now, last step for that, I mean, I could, of course, add some more chamfers in, stuff like that, but let's just, for the sake of time, unhide the jewel. Let's activate the whole project. Everything else is hidden but my loft one. But to make sure that actually fits, I'm going to use the jewel as a cutting tool. So before I do that, I did realize that my setting doesn't actually extend all the way down. So before I do that part, I'll go ahead and hide the jewel just to make it a little bit easier on myself. Let's do one final extrusion. Open this up a little bit. Let's label these. Ring and setting. There we are. Okay. Label stuff keeps you from getting too confused. I need that to extend down to the ring itself. So in this case, what I'll do is I'll just make it a little extrusion. There we go. It's still solid on the bottom. Select, no, I didn't want to select any of that. Select that face, there you go. And just extend it a little bit. Let's say 2 millimeters might be too much. You can always unhide the ring to see. It's not poking through, so cool, that works. All right. And if you want, leave it as joined, and it should link everything together. Of course, it saved it by the setting, but whatever. All right, there you go. Now you can, of course, expand that out. Select like a fillet and select those faces to make sure that it extends outward, and apparently it won't let me because it's too complex. Oh man, freezing up big time. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Problem is only
misread the error message at the top. I thought it said please step away.
I mean, to be fair, if you get an error that says just please step away, like, all right, yeah, that tracks. All right, so in this case, what? Oh my God. Problem is it's still recording, so it's just dead air at this point. All right, okay. I'm gonna pause the recording. Okay, computer saved. The issue was that I selected the faces. What you should do instead is select the actual edges. That should help. Yes, it does make a distinction. There we go. So don't go too far with it. Honestly, I have found that if you use the slider, it can kind of go way wonky before you realize what's happening. So I would enter these values numerically. So let's just try something smaller, like 3. 3 appears to still be too much. Let's try 1. There we are. 1. Now I'm getting some odd reaction here. It is picking up on some face here that I'm not sure of. So for the moment, we'll just ignore this part and it'll just be a straight connection there, but that's fine. Last step would just be making sure the jewel actually fits. Actually, the last step would be applying appearances. So let's unhide the jewel. There we are. And just create a combine and cut. So remember, target body is what I want to remove material from, which would be the setting, or in this case, because it's already joined, the ring. Tool body is the jewel itself. Don't forget to select keep tools. Otherwise, it will delete, or won't delete. You can just step back in the history, but it will remove the jewel itself. So if I hit OK, it's going to calculate that. Now I do get this weird stuff here. Now, when I hide the jewel, oops, what happened? Apparently, it did something very strange here. Keep tools. What happened here? It created a component as well. Target body is body itself. Tool body is the jewel. Keep tools.
Oh, I think I see what's happening. I think it's selecting the jewel as the target, and now you're just flipping back between the tools.
Strange. All right, let's try this. Oh, yeah, I see what happened. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yes. There we go. Okay. Yeah, I'd accidentally selected both times. But why is it creating a duplicate of the ring? That is very strange. So it kept the jewel, hide that, but it has joined. It kept the tool, but it joined it. Ah, right. These are not on the same component. There we are. Duh. I don't have, because these are on 2 different components, I don't have to keep the tool. No, now it just deleted the jewel. Okay, I'm not sure why it is creating a duplicate. That is very strange. I've not had it do that before. A lot of those tonight. Anyhow, tell you what, if you're getting that kind of error, just ignore it, or just, you don't have to cut it. We get the idea. Even if they clip together, that's all right for now. I'm not sure why it's doing that. That's very strange. I really don't know why it is creating a duplicate object. Yeah, let's try maybe unhiding. Yeah, see, every time I do, it is. Oh, I got confused on the operation, and it was joining rather than cutting. Good gravy. Okay, there we are. All right, don't be like me. Don't forget that you actually have to. You actually have to select the correct operation. Cut, not join. No wonder. You do want to keep the tool. I apologize. I got discombobulated there. Do keep the tool, the cutting tool, because otherwise it'll delete the jewel. But make sure you actually select cut. Duh. All right, there you go. Sorry about that. Jewel cut. And then, of course, last thing would be throw some appearances on. Yes, yes, yes. I usually use glass for anything like that. So I don't know. Sure, we'll stick with ooh, green, shiny. Drop and plop. I'm sure there's less deserving ways of describing that. Metal. Ooh, palladium, just because reasons. Extra freaking shiny. And it just defaulted back because I was in view. Okay. So my apologies for the flubs there, but you have options to create different types of rings. Use whatever you like. However you like, you can make it as ridiculous, as gaudy as you like. Ideally, we will print these if you want. Doesn't matter if you make it super deluxe like this too. Play around. There's really no wrong way to do this. The amount of facets on the jewel or anything doesn't really matter. Those are simply examples. You can obviously scale it down or big or however you like. So we'll go over this more next time. Good luck. Hopefully it doesn't freeze up your computer. So make sure you save before you do any large multiplication options. And don't forget to select the right options when you're cutting. All right. Thank you.